In this tutorial, we are going to look at the Magellan Grid feature, how to create it, style it, and add conditions to it. This tool helps us create a grid system. It is placed as another layer over the map to support several features of the user's games. For example, it can be used for random distribution of resources, each resource having a tile in a strategy game, or it can define the movement for the player, where it's allowed to go how fast. You can interact with this grid and store or retrieve content in an easy manner. First of all, in order to use it, we need to set it up. Open the mat or create a new project, as I've already done. This tool can be accessed in the Geo section in the menu bar. As you can see, we have a multitude of options, but our main interest now is to access the Create Grid option. This opens the Grid Creation Wizard. It guides us through a series of screens in order to properly create the grid. This is the first screen called Position of the Grid. This screen asks us to set the origin position of the grid. Actually, the origin is already set at the creation of the project itself, but this option serves as an offset for more precise placement. For the moment, we can leave these two values at 0, as they can be customized later. Going forth to the next screen. Now, this is the part where we alter the design of the cells. In this screen, we can choose their shape and their size. It depends on what kind of game you want the user to play. I would choose hexagons if my game wants to be a board game, or grid cells for an RTS map like Civilization. Be sure to make up your mind, as this is the only time you can alter these values before the grid generation. However, the grid can always be replaced with a new one. When it comes to the size of the cells, I think 100 by 100 meters is enough for this example. Let's continue to the next screen, where we can adjust more settings of a grid cell. For hexagons, there are these two examples, pointy-topped or flat-topped. I will choose the flat-topped one. If we won't like it, we can change it after we finish with the grid creation. Now, let's move on to the last screen. Here, it asks us how the information for each grid cell will be stored. Let's see what each of these choices mean. Use local database. If you have a nearby server you could connect to, grab that information and display it. This option is most suitable. So, if you want to present the name, opening hours, reviews of a restaurant in a marketing game, you can access the information there, but from around you. Use Distant Database. Use if your business is located in a different country from where you want to open the new one. Use Synchronized Attribute. If there would be a board game, you can use the third option because it only needs you to use the exact amount of information you gave it, so this motion will be circular. Press Finish. Our grid is now displayed. If you finish the wizard and you have nothing displayed, bear in mind that this measurement tool on top of the mobile view tells you the distance from the ground, and because the distance is sometimes higher than the rendering distance, the grid doesn't render. So if I scroll out, you see that the grid disappears. If I scroll back in, the grid will reappear. So this is our generated grid. If it looks 2D, try and orbit around to see that it renders exactly over the map. Using your right click, try and orbit around the mobile view, and you can see that it renders on our world. Let's check out the grid's basic settings. Turn on behavior mode. In our entity browser, we can see that the grid object displayed as another entity, placed as a child of the planet node. If we click it, in the entity editor, we can see a number of attributes. All of these attributes are of type Boolean, except grid layout. Drawing coordinates enabled. It displays the coordinate of each cell on it. This would be helpful for the first screen of the wizard. As you can see, each cell has its own coordinate in the real world. Drawing outline enabled. We can turn the grid off or back on. Drawing raster outline enabled. This attribute enables a debugging layer, which is another grid. Grid layout. We can change its size and origin point now. And smooth transformation, in case you want to add a texture. This renders the image in a qualitative way, but you might lose performance as opposed to less quality and more performance. Let's have a look at the style settings of our grid. Remember the multitude of options we saw in the Geo tab? We can now access the Style Manager option and style our grid. Alright, now here we have two tabs. One is for styles and the other is for conditions. Always start from the Styles tab. So, in the Styles tab, we can create different styles for the grid. The one that currently exists is the default style on the left side. To create a new style, you will have to press the New Style button at the bottom. When prompted with this text box, type in the name of your new style. I will call it My Style. We can now see that our newly created style was added to the list and its aspect changed a little bit. In the middle, we can see a little larger example of our grid cell. On the right-hand side of the example, there are these options to be customized: General, Outline, and Surface. General. Here, one of these options lets us change the name of the selected style. Another option is the Randomize option, which randomly styles the current selected theme. Outline. Here, we can choose the color for the outline, the thickness of the stroke, and the style for the line. There are plenty of options. Choose the one that is most fit for your project. Surface. We can choose from a multitude of styles the filling of each grid cell. There are different patterns, and you can add the texture as well. Also, after you choose the type of the filling, you can change its color as well. Each modification is saved, so you don't have to worry about saving. I will now customize my style. I will go to the Outline tab, and first I will pick a style. I will go for the solid line. Then I will increase the thickness. If you press the up arrow, the value will increase by 1. A value of 3 I think is enough for this example. Now I will change the color of it. I will go for a blue color, a little bit lighter. Now, on the Surface tab, I will choose a pattern for my style. I will go with the horizontal lines. Now I will choose another color. I will go for the orange color, press OK, and this is my current created style. Now that we created the style, let's go on to the second tab named Conditions. Here, you can manage how the styles you created are applied to the grid depending on different conditions. Let's add another style before. I will create a new style called My Style 2, and this time I will use the Randomize option. Going back to the Conditions tab, in the left column we will add the styles, and in the right column we will add the condition for each style. I will now add the previously created styles. Now, let's add a condition for this style. We have different conditions such as logic. We can check up different numbers such as the number of items or players located in an area, or grid, count resource in the cell condition, and zone type condition. I will add the zone type condition first. So this style will be applied to the grid cells that are found out in your zone. This condition is very useful when you want to add different types of environment for different challenges or create a pathfinding algorithm. We can put more and more conditions for a complete personalization of the grid. We don't have a zone now, but we will create a new one. Let's call it grass type. and then choose it in the condition. Let's add another condition for this style. I will go for the count resource condition this time. So in our current cell, there has to be a type of resource. I already created one, but I can create another one which is called wood and add it to this list. And now we can choose that if the current cell has a type of wood resource, and now we will add the value. If it has one resource of wood and it is found in the grass type zone, you can create a zone from the tool zone. The grid cells will transform their pattern into my style. In this tutorial, you have learned how to create a grid, how to style it, and how to create conditions to personalize it. Now, you can experiment further and create your own environment for your own map. Thank you for watching.